morning, children. How are you? It's Mrs. Lee here. It's assembly number 2. What do we always start with? That's right, we start with the time. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? Oh, I think this one might be an okay one. I can see that the long hand, the minute hand, is on the number 9. That tells me it is, that's right, it's 1:45. And the short hand, that's the hour hand, is nearly on the 10. So the time is 9:45. You can say that as 15 minutes to 10. You could say that as 9:45. Golly gosh, lots of ways to say that, isn't there? Right, you know, our language of the month is Lithuanian, labas. And we learnt yesterday, did you see Mrs. Lee on those skates? We learnt about being safe, didn't we? Can you do that action with me? That Makaton sign, safe. And I want to talk about being safe again today. You might think, why is Mrs. Lee talking about being safe? I am safe. I'm at home with my grown-up, or I'm at school with the grown-ups. And yes, we will all keep you safe. But you can help too. Makaton sign we've done already, help. So we can help ourselves to be safe. We don't just have to rely on our grown-up, do we? I'm going to read you a story in a moment from my basket I found in our research centre, and it's brand new to me. I've never read it before, but when I read it, it gave me a really warm glow inside my tummy, and it made me think about being safe. Now, also this week, fingers crossed, your teacher is going to try and set up a Zoom meeting so that everybody who wants to and who's grown up wants them to can come together on the internet safely, and we can see each other's faces, and maybe we'll be able to play a quick game. And that'll be a really nice way for the children who are at home with their grown-ups on their own maybe to see other people who are also at home. Okay, so I'm looking forward to that happening. Remember those internet rules though, okay? So there will be an invite that comes out, grown-ups, on Tapestry with a password. Please don't share that with anybody else. That's for you only. If you click onto that link at the time that's given to you, and then you put in the password, you'll go into something called a lobby, and then the teacher who is leading the meeting will let you in. I think after some time she might stop letting people in if it gets too late. We're just going to keep checking on that. Now, this is the first time we've ever done this, okay? So bear with us. It might be that the first time that we do this, it doesn't work. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it will. We're hoping that it's a time for the children to be able to talk to each other and maybe to the teacher, all right? It's not for grown-ups to be doing the talking, only your class teacher. I hope that makes sense. I hope it works. Fingers crossed it does. In the meantime, those children that are in school, then we can see each other, can't we? We're outside at playtime where we can chat with our friends, and we're making lots of new friends because not everybody's in, are they? And we've had to adapt and change. All good things, they're all healthy things, they're helping us in our way to be a better version of ourselves. Now, I said there was a story, didn't I? Yes, okay. Now, yesterday's assembly, we had a poem, and in the poem, it talked about being able to say if something is making you feel sad or scared or upset. And that's what this story is about. All right? I want you to think about that important message. If something is making you feel sad or scared, all right, then don't keep it inside. That's not a good secret to keep. You must share that. And I know that in our research centre, we put up some Humpty Dumptys, didn't we? And we talked about our Humpty Dumptys, about being good eggs, didn't we? And we talked about who we would talk to if somebody was upsetting us or making us miserable or sad. Do you remember? Oh, gosh, it's a long time ago, isn't it? I wonder if you could put up your hand now, and on each finger, thumb finger, you would be able to think of 5 people that you could talk to share if you were feeling sad. So Mrs. Lee, well, I talk to Mr. Lee if I was at home. And if I'm in school and Mrs. Hyam's with me, I speak to Mrs. Hyam. Now, somebody I see every day is Mrs. Orledge, so I would always go and talk to Mrs. Orledge. Somebody at lunchtime when I'm on my midday supervisor job, though, might be Mrs. White, because I see her on a playground and I can talk to her. And then, do you know what? Sometimes Mrs. Hayho is in the office and I go and talk to her. So I've got 5 grown-ups, it doesn't have to be grown-ups though, but 5 people that I trust to go and talk to. Can you do that now? I'll give you a few seconds. Did you manage to think of 5 different people? Brilliant. Super. Right, where is my story? Well, here it is. Get it out of the basket. There it is. It's called The Pocket Dogs. And it's in our research centre, and it actually comes under the healthier and safer lifestyles section. All right? So if you ever get this book in school, and you think, where should I put it back? You can put it back in this section. Mrs. Lee, she likes to put things in the right places. So this is a story about 2 little pocket dogs. One's called Biff and one's called Buff. And the safest place that they like is being tucked inside the pockets of Mr. Pocket's big winter coat. But when a little hole becomes a big hole, Biff and Buff start to wonder if a pocket is such a safe place after all. Remember what I was saying to you just a moment ago, though? All right, if something is making you feel sad or a bit scared, then tell somebody. Right, here we go. Mr. Pockets had a very big coat, and in his very big coat he had 2 very big pockets. The 2 very big pockets were just the right size for 2 very small dogs, and their names were Biff and Buff. Every day, summer or winter, Mr. Pockets put on his big coat, and then he put Biff in the right pocket and Buff in the left pocket. "Are you ready?" he always asked. "Are you happy?" And Biff and Buff always said, "Ruff, ruff," which meant, "Thank you, Mr. Pockets." So off they went to do the shopping. Mr. Pockets and Biff and Buff always took the long, interesting way to the shops, and as they walked, people said, "Hello, Mr. Pockets! What big pockets you've got, Mr. Pockets! Hello, little pocket dogs. Hello, Biff. Hello, Buff." Biff and Buff always said hello most politely. Then, one day, Biff stuck his foot through a small hole in Mr. Pocket's right pocket, and in no time at all, the hole grew bigger and bigger and bigger. Biff couldn't tell Mr. Pockets about the hole in the pocket, but he could tell Buff. Buff said, "One day you will fall out of that pocket, onto the ground, onto your head, and you will be lost," said Biff. That night, Biff had a bad dream. He dreamt that he fell out of the pocket. He dreamt that he looked and looked for Mr. Pockets and Buff, but he couldn't find them anywhere. He woke up feeling cold and alone. The next morning, Biff hid under the bed, but Mr. Pockets found him. Biff hid among the socks and the pants, but Mr. Pockets found him. Biff hid in Mr. Pockets' hat, but Mr. Pockets found him. "What's the matter with you today, Biff?" said Mr. Pockets. Biff tried to tell him. Buff tried to tell him, but Mr. Pockets didn't know what they were saying. Mr. Pockets put Biff in his right pocket and Buff in his left pocket. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Are you happy?" Buff said, "Ruff, ruff," but Biff couldn't say anything because his mouth was full of coat. Why is his mouth full of coat? I think he's trying to hang in there, isn't he? Off they went to do the shopping. "Are you all right in there, Biff?" said Buff. And Biff opened his mouth to say, "No, not really." And out he fell from Mr. Pocket's pocket, onto the ground and onto his head. When Biff looked up, he saw legs, lots and lots of legs, but he couldn't see Mr. Pocket's legs. said Biff. A lady with a shopping basket stopped. She said, "Oh, hello, little dog. Are you lost? I will try to find your home for you." And the lady put Biff in her basket and off they went. I think she's trying to be nice and helpful, isn't she? But Biff didn't like being in a shopping basket. He was a pocket dog, Mr. Pocket's pocket dog. So he jumped out the basket and ran away. A small girl who was pushing a small toy pram said, "Oh, look, Mum, there's a lost dog." "We'll put him in your pram," said Mum. "We'll try to find his home." So Mum and the small girl put Biff in the pram and off they went. Biff didn't like being a toy pram dog. He was a pocket dog, Mr. Pocket's pocket dog. So Biff jumped out of the pram and ran away. "Hello, hello, hello," said the man with the shopping trolley. "I nearly trod on you. Come with me and I'll find your home." And the man put Biff into his shopping trolley and off they went. But Biff didn't like being a shopping trolley dog. He was a pockets dog, Mr. Pocket's pocket dog. So he jumped out of the trolley and he ran away. Said Biff. He shut his eyes and he tucked his tail between his legs and he put his head on his paws. He said, if you can see him, aww. Then Biff felt someone pick him up and hold him tight. "There you are," said Mr. Pockets. "Buff and I have been looking for you everywhere." Mr. Pockets tucked Biff into his coat and he took him home. See him going home. Biff and Buff watched Mr. Pockets get out a needle with some thread and he sewed up the very big hole in the right pocket. "Did you fall on the ground?" asked Buff. "Yes," said Biff. "On your head?" said Buff. "Yes," said Biff. "You were lost, weren't you?" said Buff, and he licked Biff's ear to show he was sorry. "Yes, I was lost," said Biff, "and for a while I was a shopping basket dog and then a toy pram dog and then a shopping trolley dog again. But now I am found. I'm a pocket dog, Mr. Pocket's pocket dog." And he jumped onto Mr. Pocket's lap and wriggled into his shirt against his heart. So there you go. So I hope that you listened carefully to that story. So Biff and Buff, they feel safe, don't they? And sometimes we don't feel safe, and you must tell somebody. And we're lucky. We're not dogs, are we? So we're not roughing and barking, are we? We're able to use our words and we'll be able to talk to, hopefully, one of those 5 people that you put on your hand at the beginning of this assembly as somebody who would keep you safe. So I hope to hear some really good things about the Zoom meets this week for the classes, for the children that are at home. Make sure that you do keep yourself safe on that internet, please. All right, and I will hope to see you very, very soon. Right, let's finish off with our school prayer. Help me to do the things I should, to be to others kind and good. In all my work and all my play, to grow more loving every day. Amen. Bye-bye, children.